Welcome to episode 180 of Build Your House Yourself University by BYHYU. I'm your host and fellow student, Michelle Nelson. And together we'll learn the basics of home design and construction and demystify the building process so we can become informed consumers and build quality dream homes with or without a general contractor. Did you know the average home build produces about 8,000 pounds of waste? And with increasing landfill and building material costs, reducing job site waste can both help the environment and save you a significant amount of money. The less you have to throw away, the less money you have to spend getting rid of your construction waste. When renting a dumpster for a construction site, you're charged based on the size of the dumpster. The more waste you accumulate, the larger and more expensive the dumpster you'll need. In addition, the weight of the debris you accumulate will have some bearing on the waste management fees. When a dumpster is picked up for emptying, the dumpster and debris are weighed at the disposal station. After it's been emptied, the dumpster will be weighed again to determine the amount of waste disposed of. If you exceed the weight of the dumpster's capacity, you'll usually be charged an overage fee. This is an unexpected line item that ideally we want to avoid. In this week's episode, I'll give you some quick tips on how to reduce job site waste so those overage fees are less likely to occur. Plus, we'll hear from Angela Phillips from ZTERS, the waste management solutions company that I've been working with. Angela will give us a little more insight on how we can manage our waste more efficiently. But let's start with a list of waste reduction quick tips. Our goal is to eliminate or minimize job site waste whenever possible. Even simple changes can save us money and reduce the environmental impact of our project. Here's the list. Number 1, optimize your design for the use of standard building materials. By designing your rooms with standard dimensions in mind, you can save on construction and disposal costs, and you can decrease construction time since there'll be less measuring and less cutting of materials. Most building materials such as lumber, plumbing, wiring, drywall, wall sheathing, and flooring come in standard sizes that are in multiples of 2 feet. So keep that in mind when planning ceiling heights and room dimensions. Instead of going with 9-foot ceilings, for example, consider 8 or 10-foot ceilings. Number 2, don't order significantly more material than you need. If you can use drywall that's 8 feet high, don't order 10-foot high drywall panels because that extra 2 feet will likely go to waste. Now, keep in mind when ordering materials, many subs will order 10 to 20% extra material than they need for your job, just in case anything goes wrong. That, ironically, is called wastage. You can ask that the extra amount or wastage is eliminated altogether, or ask them to reduce it to maybe 3 to 5% extra. Number 3, use some advanced framing techniques where wall studs, roof rafters, and floor joists are spaced 24 inches apart instead of 16 inches apart as they are with standard framing. This reduces the amount of lumber, including wasted lumber, used in the project. Take a listen to episode 16 for more details about advanced framing. Number 4, use scrap materials whenever possible. Direct subcontractors to collect and keep a scrap pile at cutting locations. Ask them to look for materials, especially smaller pieces of material, in the scrap pile before heading to a pile of new material. For example, discourage them from cutting a 16-foot piece of lumber to get a short piece when there are perfectly good short pieces waiting to be used in the scrap pile. And use drywall scraps as filler pieces. Number 5, keep materials covered and dry, and don't remove protective packaging from materials before they're needed. Keeping materials in good shape decreases the chances of having to dispose of materials damaged by the elements. Number 6, ask your suppliers if they're able to take back their packaging, such as pallets, cardboard, and bulk bags. They may not be able to, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Number 7, take unstained, unpainted scrap wood and have it chipped so it can be used as mulch. Number 8, use clean concrete chunks, old brick, and other masonry rubble as backfill along foundation walls. Number 9, if unused materials can't be returned to the supplier for a refund, sell those materials and products to architectural salvage or used material retail stores. Alternatively, you can donate materials to a nonprofit outlet like Habitat for Humanity's Restore. Those donations are tax deductible. And number 10, create a recycle pile for glass, paper, and metal that can neither be reused, returned, or donated. So, those were our 10 waste reduction quick tips. Now, although we want to reduce as much construction site waste as we can, there will still be quite a bit of waste to deal with on all new construction sites. So, let's move into a conversation that I had about managing that construction waste. To give us a little more insight, I'm going to bring in Angela Phillips from my favorite waste management solutions company, ZTERS. Remember, ZTERS is helping me with my construction site, and they can help you too. I'll have a link to their website in the show notes so you can check them out. But right now, let's go into my interview with Angela so she can teach us a little bit more about construction site waste. So welcome to the show, Angela. Thank you for being here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about ZTERS and your role there and how long you've been there?
Well, I've been with ZTERS since 2011, so 8 years. I'm a senior accounts manager, level 3, and my job is to make sure that my customers' requests are met, and I make sure they have any and all services that they need or require on a site, and make sure that they're compliant. So if we have a retailer who requires secondary containment for their disposal units, or we need fencing around construction sites, that's my job to know that, and I make sure that I get that taken care of for them. And anything else that you possibly would need on a job site, I can work it out for you. I've done everything from rent out dance floors to tents for events, and I've even had ice delivered to rural job sites in the middle of summer because it was too far away for the construction guys to run down the road to a convenience store. So they had an ice freezer, and I trucked out ice once a week.
Wow. So you are a troubleshooter, sounds like, Angela.
Yes, I am very much a troubleshooter. I'm outside the box thinker. So if there's an issue that needs to be addressed and it's not something that can be addressed in a way that is typical for a waste or construction site's waste needs, then my job is to think outside that box and come up with a resolution.
That's great. That's great. So let's talk about some terminology. When I first started working with you guys, I learned the term roll-off dumpster. Explain to us what a roll-off dumpster is and how it's different than regular dumpsters.
Okay, so I didn't know that term until I started working for ZTERS 8 years ago. It's really what it sounds like. It is a large metal container that has small metal wheels so that the dumpster can roll on and off the truck that delivers it and can be rolled into place by the delivery driver. Usually when you get a roll-off dumpster, if you're concerned about damage to your driveway, you can put down some plywood, and it makes it easier to maneuver the dumpster into the correct position that you'd like to have it in.
Okay, all right. So basically it's a roll-off dumpster is more mobile than a regular dumpster would be.
I wouldn't say that because those dumpsters weigh quite a bit by themselves.
Wow.
But they do have small wheels so that they can roll onto the truck and roll off of the truck so that the drivers can place them. You need equipment to place them, but the drivers are trained to do that and maneuver them into the correct position.
Okay.
Yeah. And they also accommodate the waste needs of job sites, typically in 1 to 2 loads. Whereas a regular dumpster, like you see behind a restaurant or an office building, those are dumpsters that, number one, they have permanent status. So they usually will stay, or typically will stay on site for anywhere from 3 to 5 years. They require contracts most of the time. You can have them serviced up to 7 times a week. And, there's also restrictions on what kind of waste and debris you can put into those dumpsters. So if you're in question about what you need, you can just give us a call and we'll always be able to ask a few questions and make sure that your waste needs are met in the most cost-effective manner that your job site budget needs.
Okay. Now, speaking of helping us choose the right dumpster, I know that there are different dumpster sizes. How can we determine what size dumpster we'll need for our job site?
In this business, in the waste business, size really does matter because if you get a dumpster that's too small, you're going to have multiple hauls, and that can increase and put a huge dent in your project's budget. However, if you get a dumpster that's too large, then you could have a dumpster that's the walls are too high for you to put debris over. Yeah, a 40-yard dumpster has 7.5 to 8 foot walls, so it's hard to put debris over the sides of those dumpsters. And while it does have a swing gate, if you have a swing gate and you want to open it, you need to have 10 feet of clearance for 280 degrees around that dumpster so that you can walk into it and put your debris in there. Most people find that a little bit difficult to throw things over an 8-foot wall.
Yes. So ZTERS, I remember looking online, and you guys actually have a dumpster sizing tool that people can go to and try to figure out, sort of approximate the size dumpster that they need, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have at ZTERS.com, we have a dumpster sizing tool that you can always use. Or if you are a person who just would like to speak with somebody and ask those questions, I know I'm an inquisitive person myself. So you can always give us a call at 844-893-7776, and we can have anybody in the office answer your questions that you might have and help you determine what kind of dumpster you need and what size.
That's great. I love that personal service. That's really good. But for people who just want to take a quick look, I'll have a link in the show notes to that dumpster sizing tool on ZTERS website. So Now, I know that not all waste materials can go in the dumpsters. You kind of alluded to that just a second ago. What types of materials are not allowed to go into dumpsters?
That is absolutely correct. And putting restricted items into dumpsters, they can result in delayed hauls, contamination fees, and that can really put a huge dent in your project's budget. My suggestion is to confirm these items with whatever dumpster company you're using. ZTERS is more than happy to answer any kind of restriction questions that you have, but the most common list of restricted items are chemicals and combustibles. These items need to be disposed of through a hazardous waste company. A simple Google search will lead you in the right direction of what companies will dispose of those items safely for you. Electronics and appliances, while some landfills will allow those in the dumpsters, most will not. And a good way to dispose of those is to recycle them. You can call your local appliance repair shop, and a lot of times they will come and pick those items up from you for a minimal cost, or even may pay you for them depending on the condition of the appliances or the electronics that you're trying to dispose of. If you have oils or gas or other vehicle maintenance fluids, my suggestion would be to call your local auto repair shop or oil change garage. A lot of times you can dispose of those with their internal use and recycle those items. And they'll typically charge you a little bit of money for that, but it's not extremely hard to dispose of those items. You just have to know where to go to dispose of them. And finally, tires and mattresses and box springs, those items are usually allowed in the landfills, but because of the nature of those items, it is completely at the discretion of the landfill what they charge for that. And I've seen those costs be from $35 to $50 per item in the dumpster. So if you're throwing away 20 tires, that can get really costly really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have questions, like I said, you can always give ZTERS a call, and we're more than happy to, we are the experts, so we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. If you're unsure if your debris can go to the landfill, we can find that out for you and let you know.
Okay, great. So let's talk about how ZTERS works specifically. So say I'm planning to build a home and I've acquired a building permit. Now, I know that I'll have to get a dumpster and a portable toilet for the job site, and I know that I can make one call to ZTERS and you can handle that for me. So take us through the process. So I call ZTERS, and then what happens?
Well, first we're going to ask you some questions to make sure that we're giving you the correct quote. There are a lot of factors that go into pricing for dumpsters and portable toilets, actually for just about any kind of items you need on a job site or for a party or anything along those lines. So we need to have a correct zip code and a correct address. Those things will impact the price of your units. Once we've determined where your services are required, we'll ask you a few more questions to make sure that we're giving you the right service based on what your needs are, because we are the experts. It's my job to know that when you call me and you don't really know what you're looking for me to know what questions to ask you so that I can tell you this is what you need. Mm-hmm. And, you know, after we determine all that, we use our network of thousands of top-rated, locally owned and operated vendors to receive the best customer service. We have spent years developing relationships with these small business owners in the waste industry so that we can give our customers a one-stop shop nationally, but also give them that individualized service that is synonymous with small business in America.
Oh, great. I love it. So we've talked about dumpsters, we've talked about portable toilets, and you have mentioned briefly some temporary fencing. And I know you also have storage units. Can you give us some examples of when those services, the fencing and the storage unit, might be needed for a construction site?
Sure. Well, fencing is a way to secure your site. If you have large equipment that needs a little bit of extra layer of security, fencing is the way to go. You can have fencing around a job site that has damage or could possibly be detrimental to any pedestrian traffic, to kind of keep the pedestrians far enough away that they aren't harmed by any debris on your site. And then we also have storage containers that are also referred to as Connex boxes. That is a term I was introduced to after I started working here. They're large metal containers, and they sit on your site, and nobody can see what's in them. Mm-hmm. You can put a lock on them. You can lock up your smaller equipment. Or if you have items that need weather protection, you can put them in there so that they're not damaged by the elements.
Oh, I love that idea. So we've learned a lot about ZTERS. Let's end with sort of a fun question. What's the strangest project you've had to help a client with? Or tell us about some of the most unusual things you've seen people trying to dispose of.
You know, I've sent a lot of dumpsters to a lot of sites, and I've had phone calls from a lot of our local vendors telling us what's in those dumpsters. You know, people dispose of all kinds of things. I had calls for a roll-off dumpster for manure to be disposed of and hauled off of a ranch. So, you know, you just have, if you tell us what you're trying to dispose of, we will find a solution for you. But I can honestly say the most unusual quote I've ever given was a portable toilet quote. There's a small town in Midwestern America where they were using ground penetrating radar to locate 3 bodies that died over 100 years ago to resolve a land dispute between this small town and a property owner.
Oh my word. Oh my goodness.
It was a very interesting conversation.
It's very true crime sounding.
Oh, yes. We've done a lot of different sites. We do archaeological sites. We don't just do job sites. ZTERS is here for everybody. If you have a waste need that you need met, ZTERS is here for you. And we try to be, our motto is fair, reliable, and simple. We try to be as fair as possible, as reliable as possible. We don't have those hidden fees that a lot of companies have that, they quote you your haul rate and your tonnage rate, but what they don't tell you is that there's these small little percentages that compound and can increase your rate on your dumpsters or your waste needs by up to 35%. And my job at ZTERS is to make sure that when I give you a price, that's the price that you're going to pay. We also include tonnages that is based off of our knowledge of the national averages for the weight of that size dumpster, so that we don't have we reduce the possibility of billing on the back end. We want to be upfront and fair, and we want to be your one-stop shop.
Well, it's great. I have had nothing but great experiences with you guys, working with you guys on my job site. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you for stopping by, Angela, and telling us a little bit more about ZTERS and how you guys can help my audience with their projects. Before we go, is there anything else you want to add about ZTERS or just about waste management in general?
Well, I just would like to point out that, like I said, no job is too small. No job site is too big. ZTERS is here to help you no matter what, whether it's a porta potty for your child's birthday party or a huge complex that you're building. We're going to put the same efforts and the same customer service into your call, no matter what it is. And fair, reliable, simple. That's the motto, and that's what I have seen in my 8 years at ZTERS. And we just want to hear from people, and we want to make sure that we're giving the top customer service in the industry.
I love it. Well, thank you, Angela. Thank you for stopping by and for chatting with us today. Special thanks to Angela Phillips at ZTERS for taking time out to educate us about waste management. Reducing waste on our job sites will take a little extra time and effort, but it's good for the environment and good for our budgets. Remember, the less waste you accumulate, the less it will cost you to dispose of it. And don't forget to check out ZTERS' dumpster sizing tool. That'll give you some idea of what size dumpster you'll need for your project. I'll link to it in the show notes. Just go to BYHYU.com. That's BYHYU.com. Well, thanks for stopping by this week. I hope you learned as much as I did. And I hope you'll join me again next week for another episode of Build Your House Yourself University. BYHYU. Please remember that the purpose of this podcast is simply to educate and inform. It's not a substitute for professional advice. The information that you hear is based only on the opinions, research, and experiences of my guests and myself. That information might be incomplete, it's subject to change, and it may not apply to your project. In addition, building codes and requirements vary from region to region, so always consult a professional about specific recommendations for your home.